It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
But we do find that people expect that it will be a 50-50 split. Sometimes we see that people expect that it will be greater than 50-50 on the basis of other contributions. But the key would be really to obtain proper advice regarding that before life-changing decisions such as selling the family home are made.
And that is Nat Gordon in Sydney. We'll get back to that conversation in just a moment as we welcome you back to the Real Estate Breakfast. Right around Australia, 7 days a week. Look at the date. It is the 1st of September. Officially, spring has begun. And we are talking your property news and information from the likes of suburbs in Highgate in Perth to the suburb of Miami on the Gold Coast, and streaming on multiple platforms including Spotify and iHeartRadio. Now, are you divorced but still living with your spouse? That can happen, and not in an isolated way. Last week, PropTrack put out a story about Australia's divorce rates that have fallen to a 50-year low, but experts warn it's not necessarily love keeping couples together. Soaring property prices and the financial burden of separation are forcing many just to stay in place. Now, while filing, they point out, a divorce will cost you just over $1,000, legal expenses can climb to over $100,000 before even considering the split of the family home. So rising property values, of course, that is up 50% nationwide since COVID. That makes it nearly impossible for single income households to buy back into the same neighbourhood. And for many, it's simply cheaper to share one household than attempt to rebuild two. Behind closed doors, economics, not Cupid, may be saving marriages. Having said all of that, let's right now catch up again with Nat Gordon, and a very good morning to you, Nat. Welcome into the Real Estate Breakfast. Before we get started, last week I was talking to somebody about Barbara Eden, I Dream of Jeannie. He didn't know who that was. By any chance, would you know who that is?
I do, actually. It was a bit of a guilty indulgence when I was a kid. So, yeah, my parents made me watch that, and I was quite delighted to do so.
Great. So I'm not alone. Now, your business is Propoholic. That is a very interesting name. I did say to you off air, the first thing that pops into my head is alcoholic. I'm sure you're not that.
Well, it depends on the day, really. There are lots of propoholics out there, people who are addicted to properties. They spend their days scrolling through Domain or real estate. It was a business created with those people in mind.
Yeah, so that makes sense. Propoholic. I didn't know what to make of it when I first saw it. Now that you've mentioned it, okay, that all sort of fits into place. So tell us a little bit about exactly what you do in terms of property.
Well, I help people with making better choices with selecting agents, and essentially the agent is the driver of pricing outcomes. So if somebody's looking to sell, a better agent for that property and for that client will typically increase the value of the property. And similarly, if somebody is looking to purchase a property and looking for a buyer's advocate, I will help them select a better buyer's agent who is more prolific in that area and for that price band.
Isn't it interesting when it comes to agents? We were talking, I think it was last week, just in terms of due diligence and how sometimes people can pay more attention to buying an electric toothbrush than due diligence on property. And that is particularly extended to the selection of agents, where it just amazes me that people don't drill down on that harder.
We do find that, and I mean, essentially that was the reason why I started Propoholic. I had a real estate agency for 20 years. You know, as an agent, you see everything. And you know that there are great agents out there, but quite often people are sort of, I suppose, being sold by the, toothy white grins and, the fresh faces, as opposed to what that agent can offer and what more specifically they can offer them and their property. So it's very important, we feel, for clients to get that decision right, and we help them do so.
Now, the divorcees are living under the same roof, as I mentioned. More couples are living, I think you've called it a silent divorce, sharing a house but not a relationship. Separate bedrooms, delayed breakups and financial limbo have become increasingly common since COVID has reshaped household affordability. This is, to a certain extent, kind of flying under the radar, but it's a massive, massive one, isn't it? Massive issue for people.
It is. I mean, there's a number of different reasons why people will stay under the same roof. Quite often, and it's referenced in the Prop Track article, it's called bird's nesting, and it is for the sake of the children if children exist in the relationship. You know, it is less destabilising for the kids to have parents stay in the same home. Having said that, though, we also understand the dynamics between the parents can be negative and have a negative impact on the children as well. So it really depends on the individual circumstances as to how successful that arrangement can be.
If you are breaking up, the chances of being able to get into the same neighbourhood where you might have lived for the last 30, 40 years even, that psychology of not being able to stay in place, how big a thing is that? I mean, you're talking to these people. They can be absolutely lost not being able to re-establish themselves in the same area.
It is a real concern for some of our clients. Having said that, of course, it's natural for people who are separating to downsize. It is becoming more rare with increased property prices that one member of the couple can stay in the family home. That does happen from time to time, of course, but typically we are seeing people are downsizing. They're moving into suburbs that may be within the general area but have more apartments. So that they're definitely downsizing and trying to stay as close as possible within the local area, but not always being able to do so.
We are talking to Nat Gordon on the first day of September for spring. When we come back, I'm going to ask Nat just how quickly some couples decide to sell the family home, maybe selling it too quickly, not getting the best possible price, and is that a mistake? We'll talk about that after this.
We are just as addicted to property as you are. The Real Estate Podcast.
And right now it's time for another property tip. And we were recently talking to Madeline Roberts in Melbourne. She's joining us again this morning. Good morning, Madeline. You've got a property tip for us this morning.
Thanks, Craig. Yes, I do. So this is a tip that I would recommend purchasers who are looking to buy in fast-moving markets, such as Melbourne. This would be for you guys. So when you're going to place an offer on a property, to make your offer stand out, and obviously understanding time is of the essence, when you place your offer, having very tight clauses with your offer will often outshine other offers. Even if theirs is a little bit higher with the dollar amount, they would still consider your offer perhaps better. So this feels like I'm giving away some of my top secrets, but how I would do this, for instance, is if I'm putting an offer in, it would be to have tight clauses. So what that would mean is having a 7-day finance clause and a 7-day building and pest clause, because that is obviously shorter than the standard 14 or 21 days, and it will make your offer stand out. So that's my hot tip.
We don't just report on real estate news, we take you to the source of the information. We produce more property podcasts every week than anyone else. We are your trusted guide for all things real estate.
And it is a Real Estate Monday, back after the weekend. We are talking to Nat, all about divorcees. This is a real problem, rushing to sell the home post-separation. This can be a really big mistake. Alternatives like selling equity, renting temporarily, or careful staging a property sale may provide better outcomes. Always amazes me, Nat, when somebody decides to get divorced, some people just want to quit that family home at all costs, just not realising long-term the effect of the financial situation will be for them downstream.
We see a combination of things happen. You know, we see people staying in the family home long after they should in some respects. But yes, definitely people rushing to quit, as you say. And that can also be an emotionally charged decision, obviously. You know, once you make the decision to separate, you just sort of, you know, some people just want to get it done. You know, they've been through emotional turmoil leading up to that moment, and it becomes a sort of knee-jerk reaction, I suppose.
This article that came out from PropTrack, I hadn't actually heard the term, and you were the one that raised it, bird nest parenting, which is, as you say, reflects the shifting family dynamics. They do that because children can stay in the family home while separated parents rotate in and out of the home. It's a really interesting concept, that rotating in and out. Sometimes it's about cost, other times it's for completely the stability of the kids. And I guess that only works if the parents can actually talk to one another.
It does rely on amicability between the parties. And in fact, I was an advocate for bird's nest parenting to the extent that I did so myself when I separated from my ex-husband. And my kids were quite little at the time. We did have the benefit of having an investment property that was close by. We both had to share the family home. We both had to share the investment property that we vacated. And it was tough. Living standards vary between separating partners quite often. And I can say this from my own experiences. In fairness, it was a decision we made for the benefit of the children, and that has proven to be a good decision, I feel, long term.
Next week, we're actually going to be catching up with Angela Harbison from the Separation Guide. She talks about people assume that the simple 50-50 property split happens between husband and wife, but that's not necessarily where the law sort of falls. So you would have seen that inequality of equity when that split occurs.
Absolutely. When couples separate, quite often people are misguided. Perhaps they've had well-intended advice from family members or friends, or maybe it's just an assumption. But we do find that people expect that it will be a 50-50 split. Sometimes we see that people expect that it will be greater than 50-50 on the basis of other contributions. But the key would be really to obtain proper advice regarding that before life-changing decisions such as selling the family home are made. It's very important to understand what your outcomes may be before assets are divested.
And just how busy are you at the moment, being that property advocate for people and for divorced people sort of looking uncertain at their future?
Really busy, unfortunately, in regards to divorce, but also busy with people who are downsizing into aged care. That's actually quite a big component of our business at the moment. But look, obviously coming into spring, we'll be having a higher concentration of people looking to sell. We help people of all kinds, but divorcees tend to be one of the main categories of people we help. We do have a property coming onto the market. We're readying it for sale at the moment in the next few months, which is another divorcee sale.
And can you believe how fast this year has gone, or is it just me? September the 1st. We're now looking towards the end of the year.
I know. We would expect the property market to go very, very quickly as well, as quickly as the year has gone, particularly with interest rates changing. It's crazy. Blink and it's gone, really.
Great to catch up with you, Nat, this morning and to find out a little bit about what you are doing with your business in Sydney. Thanks for coming on to the Real Estate Breakfast, and enjoy your Monday and indeed your spring.
Thank you. You too, Craig. Enjoy this lovely weather.
We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.